el caribeño, comenzamos esta entrevista con Roosevelt Skerrit, el primer ministro más joven del mundo, defensor además de la cooperación regional. De inmediato entonces, esta entrevista.
The pleasure is mine. The pleasure is mine. Welcome to Dominica.
¿Qué tiene que conocer el mundo de Dominica?
The world should know that Dominica is a very peaceful country. The world should know that Dominica is a country that promotes ecotourism, prides itself in the protection of the environment, the conservation of the environment, a country with rich history, and also we're one of the few countries in the Caribbean with an indigenous Kalinago population.
Un pueblo indígena que tiene una gran historia con Sudamérica, pero sobre todo con Venezuela.
Oh yes, all of the indigenous people came from South and Latin America and up to the islands. And I think that's one of the reasons why there's always been a very close bond of friendship between Dominica and Venezuela. Because I have seen the indigenous people in Venezuela, and they are identical in look with the Dominican indigenous people.
Primer ministro, Dominica está ubicado en el centro del Caribe Oriental. ¿Cuál es su importancia geopolítica?
Dominica plays a very important role in the integration of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States and also of CARICOM. And of course, our location is also very important because we are between two French countries, Guadeloupe and Martinique, French departments. So we also find ourselves in the middle of Europe, so to speak, in the Caribbean. And Dominica believes that the integration of the region is critical not only to our own survival, but the survival of the entire Caribbean region. So we do play a very critical role in the integration process of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States.
Entonces, si Dominica está en medio de Europa, pero en el Caribe, juega un papel importante en la estabilidad de la región y su relación con el otro continente.
Well, you know, we have good relations with Europe. We have a historical connection with Europe. As you know, many of us are former British colonies. But Dominica also was colonized by the French over several different periods of history. And the fact remains too that during the Vichy regime, during the wars that France fought, Dominica became a place of safety for many French soldiers. And also more importantly too, we have a very close biological connection in that we have several Dominican families residing in Martinique and residing in Guadeloupe. And also we've had, over time, families from Guadeloupe and Martinique making Dominica their home. So there's a very strong bond of friendship in this country.
Usted es el primer ministro más joven del mundo. Con 31 años asumió el liderazgo y las riendas de su país. En 17 años, ¿qué ha cambiado en Dominica?
First of all, in terms of our foreign relations, we have established diplomatic relations with numerous countries. We have been in the forefront of integration processes like Petrocaribe, ALBA, CELAC. We have been part of the discussions from day one. In terms of my country itself, we've had an education revolution, for example, created tremendous access to education for all our children at all levels. The infrastructure has improved dramatically. Our health services have improved dramatically. Access to healthcare, access to free healthcare in our country has worked out dramatically. So we've seen the economy grow, we've seen the economy expanded. There's greater people's participation in the process of the development of the country. So we've really elevated the country's profile, not only regionally, but internationally.
Se ha hecho sentir entonces Dominica siendo un pequeño país, pero un gran país al mismo tiempo. ¿Qué significa entonces Dominica para el mundo?
Well, Dominica, while though a small country, we are not afraid to speak our minds and to represent the interests of our country. You know, for example, when we decided to become a member of ALBA, we were the first English-speaking country to become a member of ALBA. That brought tremendous international attention to Dominica, but also international pressure. But we recognized that there was an important step in the interest of in the region and the interest of Dominica. So Dominica's profile certainly in the world has been enhanced since my party became the government in this country.
Petrocaribe ha significado también un equilibrio de la región y de la correlación de fuerzas económicas. ¿Ha sentido usted alguna presión desde Estados Unidos y las transnacionales que han sido desplazadas por Petrocaribe?
You know, there were some who felt that it was not a good instrument of integration. There were people who may have had issues with the leadership style of President Hugo Chavez. And there are some who saw it as a counter to some of the North American countries. But certainly this wasn't the case. I mean, the creation of ALBA was really to bring Latin America and the Caribbean closer together, to create greater economic independence for member countries of the region. And what have we seen since Dominica's membership? We've seen all of the OECS countries now becoming members of ALBA. There are additional countries in Latin and South America which became members of ALBA. And there are several other countries that have, which have observer status. So we have seen the movement grown. And I believe too that the setting up or the establishment of ALBA and Petrocaribe, it has no doubt helped the closer bond between Latin America and the Caribbean. There's nothing to move around. We are a sovereign country. We have a right and a responsibility to our citizens. What another country thinks that's a matter for the other country. The US has cooperation with other countries, so that has not bothered us at all. Yeah.
El CARICOM nació hace 44 años como un mecanismo de integración del Caribe. ¿Qué lecciones le tiene que dar el CARICOM a la UNASUR, a la CELAC, a la Unión Europea, a la ALBA, Petrocaribe? ¿Qué mensaje?
Well, first of all, we have made tremendous strides within CARICOM in terms of integration process. Some years ago, we created a single market. We have a single court for the whole Caribbean region. And I believe because we have been dealing with matters as one group, international matters as one group, we have gotten greater respect and attention by the bigger countries and all the other institutions of the world. Because at the OECS, for example, at the United Nations, when there are issues at those institutions, we come in one voice, but many countries with one voice. And as a result of that, there's a greater level of respect to the views of CARICOM countries, notwithstanding the fact that we are very small in terms of population size and landmass. You know, so we have certainly seen this. And of course, our relationship, UNASUR, or Ecotourism, you know, and CELAC, the CARICOM has played a very important role in the creation of CELAC in particular, because we believe that CELAC has an important role to play in the region. That we believe that issues confronting Latin America and the Caribbean should be addressed and dealt with by ourselves, for ourselves. That there is no need for any external involvement or intervention in these matters. Because if there's an issue in one of our sister countries, we know these countries better than anybody else. And we must be able to sit around the table and formulate responses to those challenges. And that's what CELAC was created for, to move away from the attitudes of the OAS on some issues, because sometimes the OAS does not deal with issues looking at the best interests of member states. There's always a push from other forces. And sometimes the solution that is proposed is not in the best interest of the country where this problem may be existing, and also the region as a whole. So CARICOM is very critical, and my hope is that we'll continue to be unified in our issues and our purpose, and to ensure that we can speak with a sense of independence. And that's important, because we have to guard against we being influenced by what other people may think about us. We have to speak on issues and in a language which benefit our people, and not what somebody else or another country may want us to say on a particular issue.
El CARICOM entonces es un bloque fuerte que ha generado equilibrios, por ejemplo, en la OEA.
It is strong, very strong, and we have to ensure that it is maintained. It has to be principled as it has always been, and we must stand in defense of our sister countries.
Ahora, primer ministro, vamos a hablar de la OECO, la Organización de Estados del Caribe Oriental. Quizás no se imaginan que aquí existen tantos mecanismos de integración, que ustedes tienen una moneda única que los une y los hace fuerte económicamente en el Caribe. ¿Qué lección le está dando el Caribe al mundo con esto?
The OECS, the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, was created because we recognize among the smaller countries of CARICOM that there were issues specific to us, and it was important for us to get together, to work together, to solve these problems which are peculiar to ourselves by ourselves. And it has worked very well for us. We have the same court system. We procure pharmaceuticals jointly. You know, we have cooperation in maritime issues. We have cooperation in education. We have cooperation in health, in tourism, in agriculture. A number of issues we have cooperation in. So there's a lot of functional cooperation taking place within the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. But in my mind, one of the successes or the reasons why we are successful at the OECS level is that there's a greater willingness on the part of leaders in the OECS to help each other in times of difficulty. So, for example, St. Vincent may have a particular request, but I may not have any interest in that particular request as the country of Dominica. But because it will benefit St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dominica will give it its fullest support. You see, so it is a process of giving and taking sometimes. So our view, if it benefits one country, eventually it will benefit all. You know, and for example, we've had the central bank. We have a single currency in these countries. You see what's happening in Europe with the euros. There are a lot of problems there. But we've had the euro, the EC dollar, about 20 years or so before the euro in place. And that currency has remained stable for all of its years. We have never had a devaluation of the EC dollar because we have been able to work together as countries of the monetary union for the greater good of the entire OECS region. So we believe, without boasting, that the entire world, and of course various organizations in different regions, you know, have a lot to learn from the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, insofar as functional cooperation is concerned, insofar as integration is concerned.
Definitivamente la integración es la clave.
Especially in this current world situation.
Dominica pertenece a Petrocaribe. ¿Qué ha significado Petrocaribe para esta isla?
I mean, it signifies a number of things. You know, it signifies a very important instrument of cooperation, of integration. You know, and a country like Venezuela with access to natural resources like fossil fuels and using it to engender a greater spirit of integration. So it benefits us in terms of better payment terms for our petroleum products. But small as the markets are, it's also a very important market for the Venezuelan products. You know, so it has been very helpful to the member countries of Petrocaribe, every one of them. You know, and our hope is that we can see it strengthened, and we can see it and pass it on to succeeding generations of leaders. And I'm always hoping that this can be looked at beyond political lines, you know.
Uno de los temas que más le preocupa al Caribe es el tema económico de las inversiones, y ciertos bancos miran al Caribe con riesgo por el tema del lavado de dinero, por otras cosas. ¿Cómo han sorteado ustedes esta situación?
So it's a concern for every country in the world. And this is why we're collaborating and cooperating with every country. You know, we have cooperation with Venezuela, we have cooperation within CARICOM, we have cooperation in the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, you know, all of the countries in the world. Because it is a world problem. It is not the making of any one country. It doesn't exist in some and doesn't exist in others. You know, every country is confronted by this particular challenge of drug trafficking and money laundering. And therefore, we have to ensure that there is enhanced cooperation for us to fight this together. So it's a preoccupation of every country in the world. No country is immune to this societal ill. So, and therefore, we have to work together very closely to counteract it.
La posición política que han asumido algunos países como Dominica en la Organización de Estados Americanos o cualquier otro escenario internacional ha influido para calificar el riesgo país en estas naciones.
Sometimes you have a situation. I mean, it's unfortunate that that's the case, but that's the case in some instances.
El tema migratorio, primer ministro, es otro de los puntos que les preocupa al Caribe. ¿Cómo va a influenciar el Brexit en esta región, la separación de Inglaterra de la Unión Europea?
Well, Great Britain has been a very good ally of Dominica and the CARICOM within the framework of the European Union. So they have been our contact, our main contact within the European Union family because of our historical and traditional ties. All of us were former colonies of Britain, and therefore we kept on these very good relations with them. So from that standpoint, we'll be losing a very important ally within the European Union. But I don't see the Brexit having any major impact on our economy or way of life in the Caribbean region at all. No. We'll still have good relations with Europe, and we will still have good relations with the United Kingdom. So in terms of relationship, it won't change anything really.
En el caso de Estados Unidos, ¿le preocupa la política migratoria de Donald Trump en estas regiones que tienen una gran diáspora, no solamente en Estados Unidos, sino en otras naciones?
We respect President Donald Trump. He is the President of the United States of America. He is President to the Americans. And I believe that people have to respect his decisions in, you know, that he takes for his people. He is not the president of the world, he's the president of the United States of America. So we respect him fully as the legitimate president of the United States of America. There will be times we'll disagree with his policies, and there will be times we'll agree with his policies, which affect the world as a whole. But I think we need to allow him to manage the affairs of his country in the way that he believes are the right way to go about managing his affairs. Like all of us have the right and responsibility to manage our countries the way that we would like to manage our country, and the way like our people would like us to manage our countries. So it's still early days, you know, to make any judgmental statement on the presidency of the United States of America. My view is that let's allow time to pass and to see how things go.
Vamos a movernos ahora por el turismo, primer ministro. Ustedes se enorgullecen de decir que tienen 365 ríos, uno por cada día. ¿Qué dice el primer ministro Roosevelt Skerrit del turismo en este país? Pequeño pero grande, en grandes potencialidades.
We have a more nature tourism. Lots of rivers, waterfalls, hot springs, and if you bathe in the hot springs, we've been told that you will add some 20 years to your life, you know. We're the only country in the Caribbean where you will get freshly squeezed juices, you know, of different kinds. You know, we grow our own food, we grow our own vegetables. You know, you could come in to hike in our country from one point, from the south to the north, from the east to the west, natural trails going through the rainforest. You know, very peaceful country. Wonderful people, hospitable people. So we offer mainly ecotourism, a personalized welcome in our country. And it's a country where you will not get bored at all. You know, there are lots of natural things to do in a natural environment. And I'm urging all Venezuelans, all Latin American, South American citizens to, instead of going to New York or Miami or Paris, you come to Dominica. You will have certainly a more enjoyable experience here in Dominica than any of the metropolitan countries.
Bueno, pero además, primer ministro, estamos sobre un país que tiene 9 volcanes dormidos. Imagínese usted, ¿qué mensaje final le da al mundo?
Welcome every citizen to our country. Our country is a very open country. It's a country that welcomes visitors. As a matter of fact, in Dominica, we treat visitors better than we treat our own selves and so on. So it's important for you to come to Dominica and to enjoy what we have, the natural beauty, the tranquility of the country. You know, if you want to have yourselves rejuvenated, refreshed, the Commonwealth of Dominica is the country to visit.
Señor ministro, pero no podemos despedirnos sin este juego de palabras. Voy a hacer un poquito tremenda. En una sola frase, dígame qué significa para usted lo que le voy a decir. Caribe.
Wonderful place.
Dominica.
Exceptional.
CARICOM.
CARICOM, I said wonderful.
OEA, Organización de Estados Americanos.
I have issues with the OES. The OES, in my view, has lost its way. And in my view, the Secretary General of OES should be fired as well.
OECO, Organización de Estados del Caribe Oriental.
It's a great experience of integration.
Hugo Chávez.
I think he was very intelligent and very passionate, very sincere, you know, and I believe the entire world misses him.
Paz, primer ministro.
Peace. Peace. There is peace in the world, but I think countries must respect each other more if we are to really achieve the peace which people are are making it. The world is making it too difficult for countries and their citizens to survive. And we have to engage ourselves more from a point of view of respect, mutual respect, and be mindful of the decisions which we take, all of which will have an impact on the rest of the world. So we really have to work much harder to maintain global peace. Yeah. It's a huge challenge, but can be achieved, starting with the point of respect for countries and the country's right to self-determination. Sure. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Por esta entrevista. Ha sido el primer ministro de Dominica, Roosevelt Skerrit. Nosotros seguiremos recorriendo el Caribe y el Caribe toma teleSUR.